powerful judge, in a fit of arrogance, hurls his gavel at a Royal Guard in the middle of a London courtroom only to watch his career crumble when the Guard fights back with unshakable honor. That Guard is Captain William Harper, a man whose scarlet uniform hides a story far deeper than the ceremonial role he's known for. That judge, Edward Langley, a man whose 30 years on the bench couldn't prepare him for the lesson he was about to learn. Today, we're diving into a true clash of pride and principle, a story that swept from London's courts to headlines across the world, reminding us that real strength isn't about power. It's about standing tall when the world tries to tear you down. In the next 30 minutes, you'll discover 3 things. How a single moment of disrespect sparked an unforgettable courtroom drama, why Harper's quiet courage turned a judge's arrogance into his downfall, and what this story teaches us about standing up to those who abuse their power. This isn't just a tale of justice, it's a lesson for anyone who's ever been underestimated or faced someone who thought they were above the rules. But before we step into that courtroom, let me ask you, have you ever been judged unfairly because of your job, your appearance, or the way you carry yourself? Maybe you've seen someone in authority push others down just because they could. Drop a comment below and tell us where you're watching from: London, New York, or somewhere else entirely. Hit that like button if you believe in standing up for what's right. And don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell. Tomorrow at AM, we're bringing you another story of an unsung hero who defied the odds. Now, let's walk those stone steps with Captain Harper and see how one man's honor changed everything. Meet Captain William Harper, a 34-year-old officer of the Grenadier Guards, one of Britain's most storied regiments. As he climbs the steps of London's High Court, his scarlet tunic and towering bare skin had turned heads. The morning sun catches the gleam of his polished brass buttons, making him a living emblem of tradition in a city that thrives on it. But beneath the ceremonial splendor lies a man shaped by discipline, duty, and a promise to honor his family's legacy. For Harper, this uniform isn't just fabric and brass, it's a vow. His father wore it during the war, standing guard through air raids, and his grandfather before him. Every crease, every shine, carries their pride. Today, he's not here for ceremony. Harper is a witness in a simple theft case, something he stumbled upon during an off-duty walk near Trafalgar Square. He expected to give his statement and return to his post at Buckingham Palace, but as he steps through the court's towering doors, he is about to walk into a battle no one could have predicted. Inside, the High Court hums with the weight of British justice. Dark oak panels line the walls, soaking up whispers from lawyers in black robes. Portraits of stern-faced judges stare down, as if guarding centuries of law. Harper makes his way to courtroom 3, his boots echoing on the marble floor. Passers-by pause, a young clerk nearly drops her files. A lawyer adjusts his glasses to get a better look. Even in this temple of law, Harper's presence is a spectacle. One of the Queen's finest, the security officer murmurs, a former soldier himself, as he waves Harper through. To them, he's more than a man, he's a symbol of something enduring, something worth respecting. But if you asked Harper, he'd tell you he's just doing his job. 8 years in the Guards have taught him to stand tall, not for the cameras or the crowds, but for the values stitched into every thread of his uniform: loyalty, courage, service. It's a reminder that appearances can carry meaning far beyond what the eye sees. And that's our first lesson today. Never underestimate the story behind the surface. A uniform, a title, even a quiet demeanor can hide a strength forged in ways we might never imagine. As Harper settles into the courtroom, he has no idea that the man about to take the bench, Judge Edward Langley, is watching him with a scrutiny that will soon spark a fire. In just moments, a single glance will set off a chain of events that no one in this room could foresee. Let's step closer and see how a spark of pride becomes a blaze of consequences. From the moment Harper entered, Langley can't look away. His questions to the first witness, a shopkeeper in the theft case, grow distracted, his usual precision faltering. "And what time did you close the store?" he asks, but his eyes are on Harper, not the witness. The room feels it. A young lawyer shifts uncomfortably, whispering to her colleague. A retired colonel in the gallery, his lapel pin glinting, narrows his eyes, sensing trouble. Harper notices the glances but stays composed, his years of standing guard before crowds teaching him to hold steady. Inside, he wonders, why is the judge staring? But he pushes the thought aside, focusing on his duty to testify. This isn't just a glance, it's the spark of a storm. Langley's past makes him bristle at anything that feels like unearned authority, and Harper's uniform, with its brass and tradition, seems to challenge his control. In just minutes, that spark will ignite a mistake that could cost Langley everything. The room grows tense, as if everyone senses the judge's focus shifting from justice to something personal. The colonel leans forward, his hands clasped tightly. A clerk pauses her typing, her pen hovering. Harper, ever the soldier, keeps his face unreadable, but his mind races. Whatever's coming, I'll face it with honor. In this quiet moment, we see the seeds of conflict. A judge who sees a uniform as a threat, and a soldier who sees it as a legacy. It's a reminder that our assumptions can blind us. Langley assumes Harper's presence is mere pageantry, but he's about to learn how wrong he is. That's our lesson here. When we judge too quickly, we risk missing the truth beneath the surface. A glance can start a battle, but it's the heart behind it that decides who stands tall. As Langley's gaze sharpens into something more a challenge, a spark, Harper sits ready, unaware that the next words from the bench will turn this courtroom upside down. Let's watch as a judge's pride sets the stage for an unforgettable reckoning. The air in courtroom 3 crackles as Judge Edward Langley's patience snaps. Rising from his bench, he points at Captain William Harper, his voice sharp as a blade. This is a court of law, not a parade ground at Buckingham Palace, he declares, his words slicing through the silence. Langley's eyes burn with disdain, fixed on Harper's scarlet uniform. That costume is a distraction, and that ridiculous bearskin hat has no place here. Remove it now, the room freezes. No one dares breathe. Langley, a man who commands respect with every ruling, has just turned his courtroom into a battleground, and Harper is his target. Harper stands, his 6'2" frame imposing even without the hat, adding a foot to his height. His voice is calm, measured, every word deliberate. With respect, Your Honor, he says, this bearskin hat is part of the ceremonial uniform, mandated by royal decree since 1817. I am on active duty and required to wear it. Langley scoffs, his lips curling. Active duty? Standing still for tourists with cameras? Spare me the pageantry. A murmur ripples through the room. The colonel, his face tight with disapproval, leans forward. A clerk's pen falters, her eyes wide. Harper's heart pounds not with fear, but with a quiet resolve. He feels the weight of his father's legacy. The uniform that carried his family through wars. I won't let this be mocked, he thinks, but his face remains a mask of discipline. Langley's attack grows sharper. Do you have any skills beyond marching in straight lines, Captain? Or is that the extent of your service? The insult lands like a blow, but Harper doesn't flinch. My training includes tactical operations, Your Honor, he replies, and legal studies under the Military Justice Act. He pauses, then adds, I also hold the Distinguished Service Cross for evacuating civilians under fire in Iraq, and the Gallantry Medal for disarming a bomb in Syria. The room gasps. Harper's voice stays even, but his words carry the weight of truth. In Iraq, he carried a child through a hail of bullets. In Syria, he knelt for 20 agonizing minutes over a live explosive. Langley's face flushes, but he doubles down. Medals for show, he sneers. Just trinkets for the tourism board. In moments, this arrogance will push Langley to a point of no return. The courtroom is a powder keg. Langley's pride blinds him to Harper's quiet strength, but the crowd sees it. The colonel, a veteran of Afghanistan, feels a surge of pride for Harper's service. The young lawyer, barely 25, feels shame for Langley's cruelty. Harper, standing tall, battles an inner storm. The insults sting not for his sake, but for the soldiers he served with, the lives he's saved. Yet he channels that anger into focus, his training holding him steady. This clash isn't just personal, it's a collision of values. Langley wields his gavel like a scepter, believing his authority is absolute. Harper, rooted in duty, knows true power lies in restraint. Every eye's on them, sensing the breaking point is near. In this moment, we see how pride can twist judgment. Langley's need to dominate blinds him to Harper's honor, but Harper's restraint reveals a strength Langley can't fathom. That's our lesson here. True courage doesn't shout or strike, it stands firm, even when the world tries to tear it down. Harper could lash out, but he chooses dignity, a choice that speaks louder than any gavel. And it's a choice that's about to change everything in this courtroom. As Langley raises his voice, his arrogance teeters on the edge of disaster. Harper stands ready, his honor unyielding, unaware that the judge's next move will shatter the courtroom's fragile calm. Let's hold our breath and see how one man's pride ignites a moment no one will ever forget. In a heartbeat, the courtroom's tension explodes. Judge Edward Langley, his pride pushed to the breaking point, loses all control. "I am the law here," he roars, his voice echoing of the oak walls. With a furious swing, he hurls his gavel straight at Captain William Harper, the wooden hammer spinning through the air like a missile. The crowd gasps, a collective intake of breath that sucks the air from the room. But Harper, trained for split-second decisions in war zones, doesn't flinch. His gloved hand snaps up, catching the gavel mid-flight with a precision that silences the chaos. For a moment, time stops. The silence is deafening, a vacuum where justice hangs in the balance. Harper holds the gavel, his face unreadable, but his eyes burn with purpose. Langley slumps back, his authority unraveling before the crowd. Then Harper speaks, his voice steady as steel. "Your Honor," he says, "this act constitutes an assault on a serving military officer under Section 39 of the Criminal Justice Act 1988, and a breach of judicial conduct under Section 27 of the Courts Act 03. The words land like thunder. Harper's training as a military lawyer, honed alongside his combat skills, cuts through Langley's arrogance. Inside, Harper feels a surge of relief, not for himself, but for the honor of his uniform, for the soldiers he's fought beside. This ends now, he thinks. The room erupts in whispers, but it's the reactions that tell the story. The retired colonel, a veteran of Afghanistan, clenches his fist in silent triumph, proud of Harper's stand. The young lawyer, her face flushed, feels a spark of hope that justice might prevail. A clerk, barely 20, stares at Harper as if seeing a hero come to life. Langley's outburst wasn't just a mistake, it was a violation of the very system he swore to uphold. Harper, with one swift catch and a few precise words, has turned the tables. The gavel, meant to silence him, now rests in his hand as a symbol of accountability. In seconds, this moment will ripple far beyond these walls. This is more than a courtroom drama, it's a clash of values. Langley's rage showed us how power, unchecked, can corrupt even the mightiest. Harper's response showed us that true strength lies in composure, in standing for what's right no matter the cost. That's our lesson here. When the world tests your honor, it's not the loudest voice that wins, but the steadiest heart. Harper's heart, forged in battle and bound by duty, has just rewritten the rules of this courtroom. As the applause grows, Harper steps forward, his voice clear. "I request security to escort this matter to the Chief Justice," he says, sealing Langley's fate. The courtroom, once Langley's kingdom, now looks to Harper as its moral compass. But this story isn't over. Let's see how the consequences unfold and how one man's courage reshapes justice itself. The applause in courtroom 3 swells, a tide of respect for Captain William Harper, who stands as steady as ever, the gavel still in his gloved hand. Judge Edward Langley, once the unchallenged ruler of this room, sits frozen, his career teetering on the edge. But Harper isn't done. With the calm of a man who's faced far worse than a courtroom storm, he turns to the stunned crowd and drops a bombshell. "Before I joined the Grenadier Guards," he says, "I earned a master's in law from Cambridge, specializing in military justice." The room gasps. Langley's head snaps up, his face a mask of disbelief. Harper, the soldier in a costume, is a lawyer, one who knows the law as well as any judge. The revelation shifts the room's gravity. Harper's words aren't boastful, they're a quiet assertion of truth, a final blow to Langley's arrogance. As security officers flank Langley, Margaret Ellison enters, her presence commanding silence. She reviews the clerk's frantic notes and listens to witnesses. Colonel John Bradley, a grizzled Afghanistan veteran, confirms Langley's aggression. Emily Carter, another observer, describes Harper's restraint as heroic. Ellison's voice is steel. "Judge Langley," she declares, "your conduct is a disgrace to this court. You are suspended, effective immediately, pending a full investigation." Langley slumps, his gavel now a relic of a shattered reign. The crowd nods, justice taking root. Ellison turns to Harper, her tone softening. "Captain Harper, this court owes you an apology. Your honor and service are beyond reproach." Harper bows slightly, his response humble. "I only did my duty, ma'am, but the room knows better." The young lawyer sees a mentor in Harper's poise. The colonel sees a brother in arms. The clerk sees a story she'll tell for years. Outside these walls, the story explodes. By noon, #Justice for Harper trends on X, with thousands praising Harper's courage. The Guardian's headline reads, "Royal Guard humiliates rogue judge." BBC airs clips of the courtroom bus, a tale of justice that crosses oceans to New York and beyond. This moment is a victory not just for Harper, but for the values he embodies: duty, restraint, and the courage to stand against abuse. Langley's fall shows us that no title, no matter how lofty, can shield you from accountability. Harper's rise reminds us that true authority comes from integrity, not a gavel or a rope. That's our lesson here. When you stand for what's right, even the mightiest walls of power can crumble. Harper's stand wasn't loud, but it echoed loud enough to shake a system. As Harper steps back, his duty fulfilled, the courtroom buzzes with a new energy, a belief that justice can prevail. But what happens next? How does this moment ripple through Langley's life, Harper's future, and the world beyond? Let's follow the echoes of this day and uncover the lasting lessons of one man's unwavering stand. Days after the courtroom storm, Captain William Harper returns to his post at Buckingham Palace, standing as still as a statue under the London sun. Tourists snap photos, children point, unaware that the man in the scarlet uniform just faced down a titan of the law. To them, he's a symbol of tradition. To those who know his story, he's a beacon of courage, proof that one person's stand can shift the course of justice. For Edward Langley, the consequences are stark. His 30-year career lies in ruins, his name now tied to a formal investigation for judicial misconduct. The scandal sparked a reckoning. Within a year, 5 other British judges faced scrutiny for similar abuses of power, a ripple effect that shook the legal system. Harper's stand didn't just humble one man, it ignited a broader call for accountability, from London's courts to headlines in New York. On X, users shared their own stories of confronting authority, turning #JusticeForHarper into a global cry for fairness. This wasn't just a moment, it was a movement. Harper's story teaches us that real power isn't in a title or a gavel, it's in the courage to stand for what's right, even when the odds seem stacked against you. That's our lesson here. Integrity can move mountains, one steady step at a time. Whether you're in a courtroom or a boardroom, hold fast to your values, seek allies, and trust that truth has a way of rising. Harper didn't shout to be heard. He stood tall, and the world listened.